We'll have a ritual, a little ceremony where we split an Oreo to represent the sun. It'll be pretty cool.
Hello, welcome to episode 32 of the new Templars Mystery School podcast. We are jumping on the UFO train while it's still hot, and we decided to gather here on a Saturday. It's a little weird to us, something to definitely get adjusted to, but hey, still got to keep cracking on. Yeah, I mean, we had a very interesting display of quote-unquote disclosure, if we would like to call it that. Wouldn't say it's anything new. Xenox, what's your take on it overall before we really dissecting it?
It was hilarious to me because it was both a bombshell and a nothing burger at the same time. For all the normies out there, it was kind of the definitive proof that would capture the eyes and ears and hearts of those who don't know anything about the subject. Thinking, oh, did the government just say there's like some form of alien or other intelligent life out there? Like what UFOs and aliens? It's just like now you're getting those gears running. Thinking whether it's about fear or positive stuff, you're just getting their noggin going. And so that was the first kind of government disclosure about UFO stuff. But it's a nothing burger also because it's like third-hand testimony, meaning the guy did not see any of that stuff. It's something that other people say they saw and they told him. And that's all it is. It's just a game of telephone. So it's not even like he saw any of the stuff. It's just one of his coworkers gave him a story. Hey, I saw this, blah, blah, blah. Supposedly that coworker may or may not have been a whistleblower. But they told him, and then he's telling Congress. Of course, there's always the possibility that he saw it and he's just using the other person as a scapegoat to deflect any kind of consequences of being a whistleblower. But I think knowing how the government's operating with the whole UFO agenda and what they're planning on doing with that, I think the former is more likely.
Yeah, it was really funny because, in the tinfoil hat community at this point, we've heard about the TikTok for a while. I mean, it was on Rogan, and they're just bringing on the Commander Fravor like it's brand new, like he hasn't told the story at least fucking 50 times at that point. And I also find it funny that within the crowd in the front row, you had George Knapp, a figure that I don't recognize, and then Jeremy Corbell. It's very, very interesting to me that they were right smack dab in the front row and got a lot of camera time. Now, that might be just a little bit of a coincidence, but I don't know. Seems a little weird how George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell are positioning themselves front and center of all this. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a David Gersh, Joe Rogan interview with also George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. So, this UAP or UFO disclosure is here, but why is it that there isn't a larger societal impact from the news? Why is it that it's like, okay, who cares? Yeah, whatever, who cares? I still got to go to work tomorrow. I still got to pay the bills. Who cares? How does that benefit me? or affect me. And it's
I,
go for it.
I was gonna say I think it's because the majority of people know that either A, that all of that is bullshit and they know what the government's doing, uh and they're just gatekeeping it, or um I don't know, it doesn't affect people's lives. It's not like, I mean, you'd have to watch like 2 hours of the testimony to get to this tiny 10-second snippet where he kind of says in lawyer speak that there were biologics recovered from a UFO craft, like whatever the hell that means. I mean, uh, I guess I can't recall if he said they were intelligent or not, but yeah, like it's just it it's not, they're not trying to hit the nail on the head, and so that's why you're not getting a reaction out of people, because they've been building this and kind of framing this in a kind of way that they want to control the narrative, to control the minds of the people. Um, and they're doing it in a very dumb way too.
However, very strategically, we have a Disney show that has recently come out called Secret Invasion. And it quite literally has humanoid reptilian beings as elitists and politicians. And people start rioting and going up to them and just straight murdering them. It's very fascinating that they're, seeding that type of mentality into us.
Now, I have a question about that.
Go for it.
Did you see that movie at all,
Oh, it's a show.
or the show?
No, but I heard about only recently that there was an episode that very much reveals and heavily focuses on people angrily rioting and panicking to just go up to these things, whoever they might be, who they think that, is an alien in sheep's clothing. They just went up to him and just killed him. A couple of them were real humans, but they didn't care. They were just so sure.
I'm surprised Disney allowed the whole reptilian kind of thing. But then again, they do want to create fear in the people's minds.
Create fear, and to a degree, we have to understand that you don't get highest grossing movie of all time without some sort of help from I want to say higher power, but there is some degree of fuckery going on there, because how is it that James Cameron is still is number one and number three, with Endgame now number two? So it's very fascinating. They don't ever want to admit it, but they know it. They very much help steer the wheel of consciousness with some of their movies. Because even now, Avatar is owned by Disney because they bought out 20th Century Fox. I also want to say that there isn't a lot of worldwide attention to this. You don't see many news organizations over the world acknowledging that they have information that corroborates this. You don't have any news organizations start taking a notice and start reporting on some of their UFO sightings. It's very, very, very interesting. Junk, do you have anything to say on that one?
Yeah, I don't blame people for not, standing out of their seat. I personally thought there'd be Reese's Pieces involved, but I guess we got ET fairly easy. I don't know. it really is interesting because, like, obviously, if you're in the spiritual community or even the conscious community, truth-seeking community, we've all heard this. We know this. This has been an inherent fact. The universe is huge. Of course, there's life out there. How stupid would it be for the entire creation just to be implanted on one planet at a time? So this is just kind of like, I don't want to cuss on the podcast. It's just one of those no shit points. So I think a lot of us are like, okay, well, yeah. But what I found fascinating is that there is major influencers on various social media accounts that are hyping this up as if they just heard it for the first time, right? And these are more of the normies, the ones that are kind of just going day to day, trend to trend. But now that this is technically becoming a trend and it's certified by Congress, oh my God, now it's real. I think it's for that aspect that people are slowly kind of tuning into collective synchronization, where they're like, oh, this is hip. I like the aliens are real. But as you stated previously, it's like so many people have other things on their mind. They're trying to survive. They're trying to get day to day. So something as groundbreaking as this news that life exists out there, right? Something that many people for generations thought was only fantasy. Now that we have the quote unquote confirmation, regardless if it's confirmation or not, it's sad to see how demoralized society is with just the news in general. I think this would be, if we go back to something like Independence Day, the movie, when we had that kind of society, it'd be entirely different kind of response.
Well, hold on. I wouldn't say demoralized. I'd use a different word. I'd use desensitized.
Yeah, of course.
Because we have District 9, we have Halo, we have Independence Day, we have a whole boatload of other movies, we have all of the Star Wars content. There's so much sci-fi content that talks about aliens that I think also to a degree there is a deep unwavering knowing that's already there. It's just I think of a lot of it is, are they here? Are they really here? Are they really messing with us with the vastness of space? Like, of course they're out there, but are they really here? Like, how could they really be here? Why would they even want to mess with our little planet? Because
let me preface this with the plot holes that both you and Xenox brought up, which is it is a game of telephone. There was no proof, no evidence, no pictures, no in-person testimony. It was a guy saying that he corroborated these stories, and while I do believe a lot of them to be true, it's still not enough to get people like shocked or ambitiously curious about the origins. Right now we're just hearing, yeah, aliens are real, and people are like, okay, aliens are real. As you said, desensitization. People aren't necessarily like, okay, well, now what? If they saw the very first picture of an alien, and that was plastered on National Geographic, CNN, Google, everything, right? Then I think that would be enough to shake the world awake. But right now, just hearing news of it isn't as impactful. And that, for that reason, I think it answers another question. So come back to me on that.
Oh, and I also think we're also at a point now to where it's scary, where the United States government or some type of social media of the government releases some sort of video as a gag, but it's taken as legitimate and it's AI and it's fortunately of an alien waving. That's a problem. That's a scary situation, because then the media will quickly pick up on that if it's not deleted in time. Maybe it's set there on purpose to cause an absolute, mess. Disinformation is necessary. We all know that. But, it's a very interesting and scary thing to think about where we are right now because of how easy it is to just create fake video.
Yeah, I was gonna say that exact thing. The scary thing about where we are right now with that, I've noticed, digging for a lot of UFO material. Right now, there is so much fake stuff, so much good stuff, so much stuff out there that if you were to show someone a real UFO 100 feet away with HD footage or an alien walking down the street, no one would believe it. In 4K, video, no one would believe it was real. If they wouldn't know if it slapped them in the face. The problem is the only way that people are going to believe for real if there is some sort of mass sighting, or if the government plays their gatekeeper and says, "Hey, uh, they play their game with the UFOs and they continue with their disclosure project." And that the disinformation that they have put in to the UFO community has been devastating. A lot of the as what's his face, dark journalist has mentioned. A lot of the the pioneers of the UFO community, they've pretty much been co-opted by CIA people, for the most part, and so that they've infiltrated that side of the whole community, and there's a lot
Well,
of disinformation.
and we also have to think about people are not stupid. I've talked to a lot of people who believe in Blue Beam. A lot of people believe in Blue Beam and are genuinely scared about Blue Beam. A lot of religious people I've met think about Blue Beam because of what that whole thing turns into. And that's also very scary to me, because if there is a mass showing event, is that even fucking real?
Well, one would have to question the extent of how developed their holograph technology is, because I do think there's a limit to that, and I have no proof or anything, but it's just a guess for me. I'm doubting their holographic capabilities. I don't think they have developed super great technology. I think they do have something that could work, but I don't know. I think people would be smart enough to distinguish eventually the real from the fake, but at first it might be confusing.
So this question I really want people to think about out there, because I've been seeing this a lot recently, and I want to preface that we are in probably one of the later stages of this entire information war. We have made it through the home stretch. It can't get any fucking worse than this. We've already seen Biden fall on his face so many times. The man made a whole speech and forgot to sign an executive order. He's a complete another dumb fuck. His entire administration is a failure. Everybody knows it, and it's getting handled. It's taking its time, but it's getting handled. With that being said, we can't automatically assume at this point right now that it's look here, not there. It could be very much they are just overwhelming us to the point where we got to get this shit going, because shit's in the sky is moving along, and the people that are also trying to get us on the path to harvest, ascension, whatever we want to call it, those type of people are kind of taking the big usher and trying to move us along even faster as well, ushering in our governments. So I can't automatically assume, I can't automatically just say that, just because this was kind of a nothing burger, that it was a distraction. Because, of course, yes, Hunter Biden's plea deal was going on, and, it was found, he was found inconclusive, so they're continuing it and investigating further because they found more evidence or whatever. But even then, if he would have gotten off, that would be more suspect. But the fact that he didn't, it's leaning more towards that we are no longer at drip, 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 drip. We are at a steady flow with this faucet of just fuckery, bullshit, and information all at once. So why is this happening now? Because I fully believe we are on the cusp of something really substantial happening in the White House or globally. Whether that be some sort of invasion, whether that be some sort of assassination, I do not know. But it is very, very telling to me that Russia has not commented on this whole thing. Or China, for that matter.
That's a good point, because it begs the question, if Trump kind of prematurely caused the deep state's plan to fumble by rushing in warp speed with the vaccine, fumbling their Agenda 2030 plan, are we, as whistleblowers, the public consciousness, extraterrestrials, or whatever you have it, collectively, are we pushing that narrative, that plan, to be premature? Because they're afraid, like you said, something's going to happen, that they'll lose control of the narrative.
Junk, what do you think?
Well, actually, Xenox brings up a really good point. We have to see optics. What is the one thing that we keep constantly alluding to as we gauge closer to this end of an era, shift in power, etc.? Because whether you like them or not, I do believe that the political structure is going to shift majorly. And within the span of 4 years, if you think about how much damage they've done in 4 years, what we can do in 4 years with almost a sovereign, leadership. That's a different conversation. However, we speak about the alien card because that is the wild card to cast any direction or any form of awareness into a specific direction. And so when you talk about, let's say, for example, this Congress hearing, right? We've had UFO briefings from NASA. We've had in the past, few months, we've had different agencies that have kind of just been teasing us, a lot of scientific and gaslighting, etc. But for the first time ever, we're getting, straight to the nuts and bolts. Is there life? Yes. Have we recovered craft? Yes. Are there bodies? Yes. As they like to call biologics. Regardless, this ramping up, I do believe, has a hidden thing behind it, has a driver. Why would you be sugarcoating something that you've been attempting to silence for decades? Why now? And I think right now, what we're experiencing, just as you said, just as Enoch said, is that regardless of the UFO phenomena, how universally unifying it is to the planet at large, knowing that there's life beyond our planet and we can become multi-planetary or even even beyond that degree if we want to go there. But but the thing is, it's happening in this way, in a very kind of dry Seinfeld humor kind of way. There's aliens, and then we look around and we're like, great, there's aliens. Okay, well, can we get something? Oh, I can't discuss that in a public forum. Come on. If you're gonna come with the big guns, you have to show that they shoot. You can't just say it.
Well,
and that's the problem.
To give credit where credit is due, this is the first of many hearings, and he did he did say that he could provide them a very comprehensive list of people who could give more information on the topic. So we can't completely dismiss that. It's just that he is personally in a position to where if he could, his life or his family's life could be on the line. And is that really smart for him to do, knowing how the shadow government works? Fuck the deep state, how the shadow government works.
Oh, by the way, Scuba, I was gonna show this to you today, but I looked in my luggage and I found a preserved copy of a Bob Lazar sketch that's signed by him
Oh,
of
wow.
the sport model. I'm gonna send you a picture so we can post it in the mystery school. But it just
Yeah.
made me realize that like I got way more fascination from hearing Bob's story than I did listening to any of this congressional hearing, because you have somebody who's detailed. Like there's, I think again, if this is a string of events, if we have to wait for this stuff, fine, whatever. But honestly, like it, even them going through Congress is such a blow to the public. To me, personally, this
Oh,
should
yeah.
just be widespread. They shouldn't have to, selectively choose humans that are quote unquote in power. This should be common knowledge. And we obviously know, for anybody who is yet to be aware of this phenomena, the aliens aren't here because they're respecting our free will to remain hidden. That is the whole key. So the fact that we're trying to disclose it now feels like a force of hand. It feels like, they're speaking on behalf of the aliens when the aliens are like, well, hey, we want to just not be known if you don't mind. We're going to keep doing our thing, which makes me realize that there's probably not going to be any living, biological, benevolent extraterrestrial life form that might come forward publicly, because as we've learned through thousands of years, beings of the stars that do this become referenced as gods, or are given such a pedestal of which the entire intention of their arrival is distorted. So it's just, this feels like human intervention at its finest. Just make a narrative. You can use it for both, drawing in the susceptible mind, somebody who is very prone to influence, and you can also use it as a fear tactic, of which we'll probably discuss in a minute.
So,
Well, I want to kind of disagree with you on that, Chunk. One, uh, I like Scuba said, I think him going to Congress, although not the best option, it was probably his only option. He would most likely have been thrown in jail, murdered, or had his family threatened. Because that is pretty. They have specific laws and avenues put into place for whistleblowers to go to Congress to prevent national secrets from being leaked to foreign governments or to bad actors. And so that was probably the only place he could do that and have protections.
oh,
Um,
hold on, can I
and
jump in for a second?
okay, yeah, go ahead.
So I gotta kind of put in a wedge to both your ideas here, and kind of play the angle that this is 5D chess. So let's be 100% frank. The only way people are really going to fully get it is, as Jung said, they see it. And me personally, I feel like this is going to be such a slow roll that it's going to piss off somebody who's going to force themselves to get access, and there's going to be a data drop somewhere, just like there was for the WikiLeaks. And I would like to bet money that it would be somewhere around the 2024 election.
Yeah, that's a really good point you made. If you follow Joseph Tittle and his monthly and yearly psychic predictions for each year he does. That was part of his predictions was one, there would be more and more whistleblowers coming out, and two, there would be either some video captured or leaked or whatever, but there would be sightings or proof of UFOs to the point where it would be so big that the government wouldn't be able to censor it, wouldn't be able to control it in time. So I think that was an amazing point you made,
No,
how that's
yeah.
related.
And, I also want to make note that we're going to be entering one of the most interesting elections we are ever going to witness in the history of the United States of America. And it is going to be a very make or break type of situation. And, our clock is ticking. And 2027 is right around the corner. And I have said many, many times that is the year we officially get our contact with, extraterrestrials to a capacity that is beyond any measure of the account. And the only reason why I feel that and know that is because if you read any of the Palladian text, they very much describe how it is an 80-year cycle of when they first start making contact, where they first really start going through channelings, and by 2027, after 80 years from 1947, that is when shit really starts hitting the fan, and they just start showing themselves. They really start showing themselves, because at that point, in my opinion, we would have accumulated so much, I want to say exotic energy. I don't know what else to call it. Not, exotic energy from space and the sun exploding enough times and us absorbing that, and the Schumann blasting enough times for us to, on a conscious level, to a point, although we are devolving farther, we are also evolving higher. We're seeing a split. We have two timelines, although they don't look like timelines right now. The division of it is very much getting clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer as the days go on. And unfortunately, there's going to have to be a side to pick. And I feel as though those sides are very well established right now. And it's just kind of figuring out that common ground. And once that common ground of common sense is back into place, that's really when we start seeing a lot of boom, 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 left and right, all over the place. And the dam of all of this black budget shit is finally just destroyed. And it's so much that we're just like, okay, holy crap, we're here. We're here. But that's just me. Could we consider this transparency a real public disclosure, or is it their agenda, or is there an agenda at play? Well, of course there's an agenda at play. However, I gotta put in the point that we are well past the point of quote-unquote distractions. The only real distraction anymore is trying to talk about World War III. But even at this point, most people, although they're scared about it, they know in the back of their minds that it's bullshit. It's not going to happen. This government, this military, it doesn't have the absolute gall to do that again. And even if they were to try to, we know on the absolute pit of our souls that would not happen, because a world of pain would rain down our government for completely and utterly destroying a treaty that they made with beings with weapons that even make our exotic stuff look like tissue paper. I mean, I'm sure Junk could probably talk about that a little bit.
Well, yeah. Well, I just want to actually briefly mention something is that I think the one thing that they're skating the ice on is polarity of the extraterrestrials, right? They never came out and claimed benevolent, malevolent, tactile. They never said anything about the intention. It's just recovered craft, etc. But as we know, with Solar Warden and all of these different black budget programs, the way, and I'm just gonna make a little prediction here, but I feel like their UFO disclosure is only going to list out a reverse engineered craft. It's not going to show the real deal light ship. And the reason for that is because it's tangible. It's something that they can show off, kind of like in the Iron Man movie, the Tony Stark Expo. I could totally see them doing something like that, of playing the narrative in a way where they say, yes, we found craft that crashed. Yes, we created our own. Here we go. Or they can take the point, as we have speculated in the past, of harboring them, kind of like the last Star Wars movie that you just saw, of all the starships hovering in the air. All around the world, we see TR-3Bs or evolutions of them that dominate the airspace, and there's nobody to say anything otherwise. So it's going to be a very interesting time, but I do believe that you're right, Scuba, in the fact that there's really nothing you can hide anymore. The collective has already gone through a great awakening, and we already are almost decently understanding that the government isn't truthful and that the space is huge. So the fact that the alien news came about makes me realize that it's a lot more accepted than it was 10 years ago, which is a positive for us. We can't necessarily say all of this is a negative, because now we can start to have the conversation without being called conspiracy theorists. We can actually have a legitimate conversation. But at the same time, I do believe that if it were to happen organically, it would come from the stars, not from the ground.
Well, and here's an interesting question. When we do get disclosure, if you want to call it that, at what point do they give us the information? Did they just acknowledge the patents that Xenox worked so hard to talk about and put together? Did they just release that stuff and all of the stuff that's attained to that? Or are we going to get the catalog of 80 histories that have just been plucked out of the earth and went to the moon? Are we going to get even a shred of that? Are we going to get, eventually any knowledge that, quote unquote, the United States have been the pseudo Fourth Reich, and that they've been essentially controlled by, I hate saying it, but space Nazis? Is that any information going to come out? Are we going to learn about Solar Warden? Because we have to think about it at this point. Gary McKinnock's information that he found is 20 years old at this point. It's 20 years old. What else the fuck do they have? What are we going to really be subject to? That's my question. That's my thought process, is where is the cap that they stop and then go forward?
I think we'd have to learn the truth about JFK and 9/11 before you get to space Nazis.
But here we are talking about UAPs and talking about them being threats. How are we going to get 9/11 truth if there's no real investigation into that? They're still shunning that away, even when Trump was in office.
You make a good point, because Operation Paperclip has been gaining more mainstream TikTok kind of disclosure. But I don't know. I just get the sense that they try to demonize the aliens to create mass panic and control. I think that's more so the way they're leaning on it.
And even so, I mean, it's unfortunate to think of it that way, but more often than not, they're kind of demotic. Look at the reptilians. Look at the Draco reptilians. They are literally an essence of if we're really going into the lore of it, they are an embodiment of an evil AI. Like, it's fucked up if you really go into the lore of Draco reptilians. It's very fucked. So a part of me doesn't want to believe some of it because that's too crazy.
Yeah, and that's why I don't know. I think they're gonna have to drip it. It's gonna be a drip. Everything's gonna be a drip, in my opinion. I think there will be some bombshells, but to the extent is, the question.
Oh,
I
yep.
just I've had a hard time, with the amount of reluctance that they've had releasing the JFK files, and then Trump himself saying he doesn't want to release it. I just don't know if the White Hats even have the balls at this point to do something like that.
Well, I mean, if Trump is scared to release it and Biden only released everything but the sensitive stuff, so that's all that's left is the sensitive stuff. That just tells me that it's very much heavily involved with MJ-12, and he very much wanted to talk about UFOs. There is no other option at this point. The government would not be so scared if it was a Soviet plot, was some weird, grounded conspiracy. It has to be, an MJ-12 type of situation because, even RFK Jr. himself, as much as he's been changing his tune because he's corrected himself and whatnot, he has very much skirted the line of trying to mention MJ-12 without mentioning MJ-12. So it's very interesting. So, as I made the point earlier, will governments around the world ever release authentic imagery of aliens and their spacecraft? So, this is also part of the whole situation that I think is kind of fascinating because, if we're really going by this is not just a United States operation. Like, the whole secret space program is a multi-world organization. There's no way that it's just the United States. Yes, that there's the 5 main aerospace contractors, of course, but there's no way that they only do business with the United States. They would be fucking stupid. They're in it to make money. Money. They don't give a fuck who wins the war. They don't give a fuck if they're fighting with the same weapons that they sell them. They're not Tony Stark. They don't have a soul. They don't have a conscience. They just want to make fucking money and bleed every military budget as dry as they possibly can. So this angle is very interesting to me because with how erratic Putin can get, he could literally wake up one morning and just be like, all right, release it all. And in 24 hours, all of Russia's, information on UFOs is just out there in the world.
That's probably why they fear him so much.
At your own discretion, Scoop.
Oh boy. Yeah, let me get this.
You might want to include a graphic warning. It's yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely something we should watch. Although I didn't know this one was 20 minutes. Goodness. I'll get to that here in a second there. Alrighty. Sorry, don't mind me. Gotta move things around. There we go. Alrighty. So, Junk, what do you think?
So okay, well, let me just preface this for everybody. The question was, will governments around the world ever release authentic imagery of aliens and spacecraft? Well, it turns out they might have already done that.
Oh.
Well, I mean, with what you're including right there. So basically, the video that Scuba, I mean, should we show it or should we just link it? Because I don't know about this one. It's video of an autopsy, you guys. It's an alien autopsy, and it was authenticated by the CIA because they placed the bid on this bidding site of $1 million for it. You don't just do that. That is trying to get reserved rights over it. So anyway, and the more I watched it, the more real it looked, because I've seen a lot of anatomy, especially working in the hospital. It doesn't, I mean, damn, dude, I don't even know what we should do with this because it is very graphic.
It's going on Rumble, and we've talked about, I mean, we've literally talked about child sacrifice on this podcast. This is not going on YouTube, even though that this video is on fucking YouTube. You know, that's just great. You know, the irony with that.
Also, it's been colorized with AI, so you're looking at a black and white film recorded video that has since added color.
My mom showed me this when I was like 12.
Really?
Yeah.
And this is what, 1947?
Yeah. It's also, I'm gonna send you another reference video. But the black eyes, the black irises, of which I think they remove in this video. I have another video of it as well that I posted to my Telegram.
I saw that.
It's almost like, preventing sunlight, because if you were really to rationalize extraterrestrial life on a terrestrial planet, there would be different wavelengths of light of which you would experience through your home star. So of course they'd be wearing like contact lens sunglasses or something of the sort if they ever visited us.
So what is he looking for, a pulse?
No, they're feeling the arteries in the neck. It's so okay. While this is going on, I think it's also important to mention too, extend your belief, regardless if you think this is real or fake. Also, the bloating really makes me believe this is real, because I've worked with dead bodies for a long time, and the gases get trapped, and I've seen that happen in human bodies too. So, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to get graphic. I just think this is important to realize when you're looking at something like this. I want you to extend your belief, even for a moment, even if you believe it's a dummy, and just think about how it makes you feel to see a life form outside of Earth. And what I find fascinating with this is that if we even consider this to be halfway true, we're talking about a bipedal life form, a being of humanoid stature, which would extend even deeper into the universe, considering these are from what is it? Zeta Reticuli. So, that is a distance away. So, if every form of life, or at least intelligent, self-aware life, is a humanoid skeletal structure, then it kind of gives you an idea of what can truly be out there and all the shared characteristics between. We're not looking at some like tentacle face. This is what do they call him? Zahulu, or what's his name?
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu. We're not looking at that kind of being. It's not that exotic. It's actually quite close to home, because it would make sense that consciousness would pilot a vessel like our own, like the human species.
Well, I do think it is rumored that they have gray human hybrids, so who knows if this is like an actual gray, because they have video of I think it was Russian, or either Brazilian or Russian military that, or intelligence, that actually captured a lone alien, and they have it like tied to a chair, and like they literally have a phone camera and just walk up to its like eyes, and you can see it blinking, and the little what do you call it, the light reflecting off its skin. Like, I think I posted it before. I'll post it again, or I could try and find it maybe.
I also just want to make note of this. When they say biogenetics of alien origin or extraterrestrial origin, this is what they mean. Because this stuff is so years old and they've done so many different tests on it that they're not bodies anymore. They're probably just pieces now.
Now the black is interesting because it's been, I believe, oxygenization, if I'm saying that correctly. It's exposure or prolonged exposure to a different atmosphere as well during the decaying process. So I found that fascinating.
What would you have to say to the people that are like, oh, so an intelligent alien species was able to build a craft so complicated that they're able to traverse space, but are stupid enough to crash onto Earth?
Well, it's the magnetic fields. We have to realize that the Earth itself has so many varying, fluctuating magnetic fields, and electrogravitics has to do exactly with the actual fields of which they traverse. So they possibly found some kind of dip, or I'm trying to think of the right word for this. It's when two waves cancel each other out. It's like you hit a speed bump, and if they're going 1,000 miles per hour, that can make you lose control of a craft instantly, and it can almost be beyond the repair of trying to recover. Graphic warning, everybody. I'm sorry. Scuba, come on, man. you gotta warn us, man.
Hey, I'm sure we've all seen Pimple Popper a couple times.
I've heard that
just-
either radar or radio waves
Look,
have a way of affecting the anti-gravitics of the craft.
I will say this. The only thing that's going through my mind right now is probably how bad that smells. Oh, I can't imagine how bad that probably smells.
What if it smells like nothing?
No, you
That's
guys,
even scarier.
trust me,
Right?
you never want to smell formaldehyde. That is the worst smell, and I know exactly what it's. It is awful, and then especially if they start going in with bone saws, it starts to smell like barbecue. It's the worst, gross.
I
You guys don't
thought
even want to know.
formaldehyde smelled sweet.
No. I'm saying like when they're actually prepping bodies and they're like getting everything out. Yeah.
Okay. I thought like the pure chemical though, like it kind of smells sweet, and
You know,
that's why it's like kids have like drank it thinking it was going to be like juice and it was pure formaldehyde.
I know
Okay.
it's supposed to be gross and all that, but the footage is just so old that you can't even really make out all the finer details that would make it gross, in my opinion. Like, that just looks like just innards, but you can't tell, you can't see any of the bones, you can't make the rib, you can semi make out the rib cage, but it's just covered in so much slop.
Now you have to remember during autopsies, the mortician actually drains the body of blood, so it's not, overwhelming. So when you see little drips off the side, that's fairly common.
Also, it doesn't help the slideshow nature of Telegram. Just
Well, I slowed it down so that way it's a little bit more seamless.
Their blood might not be like our blood.
That too.
Yeah,
kind of looks
exactly.
like vaccinated blood.
Oh boy.
Oof.
Oh boy.
Oof.
Here we go.
Yeah, Hope, you bring up a great point, which is their biological chemistry. Given Xenox's proposal of possible, kind of half breeds, if this were to be a full breed Zeta Reticulan, then chances are their chemistry or their biological nature is going to be a little bit more dense. I'm forgetting, it's escaping me how many Scuba, do you know if Zeta Reticuli is a binary star system or is it a singular?
I would Google that. I wouldn't know.
But yeah,
See, when I'm looking at it, when you split open the abdomen, and I know that it's probably been dead or formaldehyde, whatever, but it still doesn't have the appearance of a human body other than the shape if it was closed up.
You know, one of the
It's a
most common
binary star
characters.
system.
It's binary. Okay. Well,
Yes.
the light would change, adaptive qualities of a physical vessel. But yeah, basically the entire consensus of Zeta Reticulans is a very short, stocky, shell of a body. So I'm sure that some of the organs to accommodate for the smaller structure might be shifted in ways like you can kind of see organs that I don't know where their heart would be. You would assume the center, but I haven't watched this in a while. It looks like they're gonna pull one out right now.
I think that's the stomach. Yeah, that looks like the stomach or the liver.
I want to know how much of their bodies resemble ours. Like, do they have a gallbladder? Do they
Or is
have
that the
pancreas?
lung?
Like,
Right, and for example, are their bones? Do they have the same composite, like the calcium and all those type things?
Yeah, it's adamantium. I'm just
Oh
kidding.
God. What's also funny? It looks like it's growing like spores or whatnot. Like if you really look at it, it's decaying very weirdly. Like as Jung said, it's oxidizing, but it's also decaying at such a, I don't want to say a very liquefying state because it looks like everything's just turning to mush.
Now here's something, and I really don't want to offend any grays when I say this, but I believe we're looking at a female gray. Could be trans. That's yet to be seen.
Oh God.
But what we've known is that the Zeta Reticulans have such a biochemistry that is almost androgynous. So it's fascinating seeing it because, there's a whole thought about the reptilians actually creating them as a secondary slave race. So to have maybe an inorganic upbringing. But they quite literally, if we're taking this 100% credibility, they have the organs, they have the ribs, the eyes, everything like that. But we've known that when you genetically manipulate a race of beings, i.e. humans, and you screw with their DNA, you can start to do some real work upon generating a new species of life.
Here you go. And peeling it off.
Yep. There's so you see the real eyes underneath the contacts. That's the creepiest part for me.
So they look like real eyes.
Sclera lenses.
They look like real eyes. They're just.
And what is the purpose of the film? Does anybody have any speculations?
Junk said it. You want to repeat it, Junk?
Oh, on the lenses? Yeah, because if you take, for example, what Andrea told us, that Zeta Reticuli is a binary star system, then they would have a different hue intensity of their home star as they would with Sol here on Earth. So it's almost like they're wearing shades. They're wearing glasses to prevent overexposure or underexposure, depending on what they're used to. But it all has to do with luminosity.
Okay, thank you. I joined late, so I appreciate the repeat for me.
Something really interesting. Sorry. I said something really interesting while looking at the Wikipedia page for the Zeta Reticuli binary system is that there are no detectable exoplanets, like there's no detectable planets in the solar system, but there is a potential debris field, meaning that there could have been a planet that was there that is now destroyed and is now effectively an asteroid belt.
Oh my God. I think you just connected the dots. I mean, talk about wiping out the trace of whatever you've created. It's kind of like Star Wars mixed with Prometheus. I'm loving it.
Oof. See what I mean? It just looks like mush.
What was the year that this was done?
47.
Also, Hope, this is colorized by AI, so it's
So
originally
this
a
is
black and white film.
This is supposedly one of the aliens from Roswell.
Thank you. That helps. That gives me a little bit of, it might be, that's why.
I'm just continuing to go through the Wikipedia page. The 2 stars, one of them is about 99% the size of the sun, so just slightly smaller. And then the other star is about like 88% the mass of the sun.
And are they blue stars, or what's the intensity?
That's what I'm trying to figure out, but it's a lot of scientific language that I'm having to rack my brain and understand.
Scoop, you wanna preview the video I sent you real quick?
Yeah, I'm adding it now, don't worry. I gotta... There we go. That looks like AI. Or not AI, CGI. The way the lighting is weird. Its facial animation is just not... It was a good try there, bud, but I don't believe that, personally.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I found the video several times before, but anytime I go looking for it, you can't find it. So it's how well it's hidden has that appeal to me.
So how might extraterrestrials gauge the world with this newfound collective awareness? So this is a very interesting one, because my idea, my hope is that we get some sort of interesting bombshell before 2027. What I would say is that they would gauge us as we're almost ready. However, we're still very juvenile because of our differences, because of our constant need to fight, because of our tendencies to be not lazy but docile. So I think that's probably, to them, our biggest hurdle, is no longer becoming docile in the modern world and being as strong and powerful as we were when they first started taking a look at our little planet. Anybody want to concur with that or reject that idea?
Is it up to the aliens to decide when they make their appearance, or is it because of some voice here on Earth that says, no, not yet?
I would say it's a universal law that they can have a knowing of when we're ready for them to just reveal themselves. I also think that they're working on a very specific clock that was predetermined by them and is going about in their pre-described manner, no matter how methodical it is going to be, in my opinion.
Well, let me throw this out there. In the hearing the other day, they talked about the alien race being a threat to national security. And we know that they may not be, because my question's always been, if they're really a threat, why haven't they taken us out by now? What are they waiting for? And are they actually trying to prep people for fear, having heard that they're a threat? You know, my thought on the threat is, the only threat that can be is that we don't know what they can do. So we take that as a threat. But that doesn't mean that they're all a threat.
Right.
So were they actually priming people using the word threat, and then when Project Bluebeam comes in, persons who may have watched or heard from that hearing, they'll take it as, oh my God, they're here to kill us. You know, we've seen the movies, War of the Worlds and blah blah blah. So are they programming us?
Yes and no. I think to a degree they have to militarily look at it as a threat if it's actively jamming. If they're, you know, taking precautions to deter our craft, our instruments, you know, if they're essentially toying with us, knowing full well that they can annihilate us in a second thought, but, you know, kind of toying with us and making us really question our own existence and their existence as a pilot.
May I interject on a whole? And I'm not going from the pessimistic, I'm going from the optimistic. Do we know exactly for sure that it just may be that their frequency is interfering with our frequency and it's not intentional?
Junk, you want to hop in on that one?
Yes, sir. This is something we haven't really talked about all night, which is the vibration of positive, benevolent extraterrestrials, or shall we say interdimensionals, because a lot of the beings of which pilot light ships, not, you know, these TR-3Bs or cigar craft, but the real ships that are pure light frequency, they're actually of a higher resonance internally than we are here on Earth, as even the Earth is itself. So when we talk about their arrival, right, we have to gauge it through the understanding that the planet is ever evolving into a higher frequency, and we see this constantly with the Schumann, and that's why, you know, even tracking it gauges us in a tangible way about how we're acclimating to everything going around in our environmental stimulus. So that being said, there will be a threshold, and this is something of which Scuba alluded to earlier, of which these beings, the benevolent ones that pilot these motherships and these light craft and have nothing but goodwill intention, of which they can arrive and they can return without distorting our field, as you were saying, not causing dissonance, but actually allowing pure resonance between both sympathetic vibrations. So it's inevitable that they will return in force, and that the many star family of which we speak here and on our separate pages are set and bound to return at the exact moment they're meant to. Something that Scuba mentioned about the universal law has to do in correspondence with free will, realizing that in showcasing the exotic nature of a multidimensional craft, or acknowledging the efforts or life of another being amidst the cosmos, is quite interfering with the human experience, because you detract again, you subvert the attention of the observer currently within a human vessel to a different lifetime or life experience that might not be helpful to their experience of internal and spiritual growth. It could be, of course. We have these awakenings and we come to the understanding that we are of the universe, we are children of the stars, having this limited human experience. But when you do so in a kind of, when you're jumping the gun or you're coming too soon, then you basically showcase a level of power, of dominion over others using these exotic technologies. And therefore, the consensus of those on the ground become that of worship, of authority. And you get kind of a godhead spearhead figure amidst the skies. And what I can tell you, Hope, especially through my own channelings and many have come to know in the community, is that these beings come with love, and it's only love that perpetuates their existence. So when they arrive, it's to observe, it's to facilitate and ensure something that we spoke earlier in the conversation about World War, that doesn't happen, that the use of nuclear weapons is non-existent, and that the preservation of life continues on. So to have them, amidst our skies in a very ambiguous way, hiding in clouds or jumping into volcanoes or beneath the oceans, this is all to conceal from the public disclosure or disclaimer of their own occupation. And this is done so to preserve free will. And so it's all of peace. However, the flip side of that coin is that there is a malevolence, and that malevolence, as we've come to know through reptilian origin and many others, might have some inner dwellings within the government, within some backhand secret handshakes that have allowed such programs as Solar Warden, etc., to even manifest and to happen and to be gifted these exotic technologies, giving civilization, or at least their selected civilization, access to our inherent gifts that we're to receive at a divinely timed moment. However, when you give somebody a rocket when they're just learning how to steer a buggy, it causes concern. And so this is where we get into a little bit of trickiness. I do believe that a lot of these congressional hearings are to disclose a lot of the reverse engineered projects, but and it's not that these extraterrestrials or these interdimensionals are dumb by any means. They pilot the craft by consciousness. So if you don't think that they can observe the consciousness of those on the ground, then we're very much, misunderstanding their technology. This is something of which they've perfected the art of camouflage and of being unseen. And so for all of this stuff to come out, especially with like the Tic Tac phenomena and a bunch of other craft that are slowly coming to the light, or at least being publicly acknowledged, our speculation, or shall we say my speculation, because I know we have differing opinions here in this, is that they're trying to supersede the conversation of UFO disclosure by pushing off their own nefarious agenda of reverse engineering this craft, holding this free energy technology, and continuing to maintain that power hold, even whilst disclosing awareness, or at least public knowledge, of UFOs and extraterrestrial life. Because the best thing that you can do is disclaim and say these are not of this world, because that wipes their hands clean. If they had to stay accountable for all of these programs of which they've collaborated on, then they would have to really face scrutiny, and they don't want to do that. Kind of like when you look back at 9/11, there's been no real remorse or acknowledgement of the origins. Everybody just says it, they forget, and they move on. So it's up to us as truth seekers and light enforcers to really hold people accountable and also discern the truth from public discourse. Because right now, I think this is happening to desensitize on a subtle level, even though we're already severely desensitized as it is, to the thought of life beyond the earth, because there's been such a fear that in disclosing extraterrestrial life, there would be religious panic, there would be suicides, etc. But It turns out all you really get is a water cooler and some buzzwords from that conversation. So Scuba has said that this is the first of many. So we will see in what trajectory that happens. But I can tell you from now that the benevolent, peaceful extraterrestrials, interdimensionals that are currently visiting Earth have no intention of disclosing their whereabouts for the public, because they're meant to observe neutrally and not be as involved as they have been in the past.
Thank you for that, because and that's awesome information, just awesome information. But I go back to the thought that they're functioning with the use of crystals, and our technology is nowhere on that level. And are they two energy sources that the crystals overpower the sources that we have? And whether they're doing it intentionally, or are they perhaps, because of the differences of technological energy, is it just a side effect or adverse effect of the two energy systems coming together? That's where I was coming from.
Well, yeah, again, when we talk about free energy and anti-gravitics, we're talking about electromagnetism and how that affects gravitational waves. And I just briefly mentioned that most of these light ships are piloted by consciousness, because they're of a more unified singularity, of which the pilot and the craft, to an extent, are both conscious. And that gets to a point where people kind of get confused. And as you said, crystalline energies have very much indeed been a process of that. But when you get into crashed craft, as of in Roswell, and you have these exotic technologies laying before you, humans can only do what they do best, which is go to the scrapyard and put things together. And so we've had many conversations, I'm sure you've been there, which Xenox has gone into detail, I and Scuba have, explaining the technologies of the reverse engineered craft and how they are more material, or shall we say, of Earth's elements that create this artificiality or a little bit of danger in the back process. But the organic ones, the true ones that, as we've heard Bob Lazar say, seem as if they were molded in a single piece, which is, beyond our technology at the current moment. Maybe not the ancients, but that is another conversation.
Very different conversation.
Yeah. Basically, all you have to realize is that when they come out with it, because I'm sure if we're on this trajectory of full disclosure, they're going to provide a UFO high-res 4K imagery, and it's through our discernment that we're going to realize, is this real, or is this something from the scrapyard? And that's how you can make your understanding of what we're actually seeing, because I can guarantee you they are not in possession of a real light ship. Or at least an active one, because these things are beyond their comprehension or even interfacing. These are things that have to be occupied and piloted by beings that have the same shared resonance of which they were manufactured.
Well, thank you. Yeah, for sure, their DNA and their brains are a lot more advanced, or is being used more than what ours, are at our level. So thank you very much, Junk. Appreciate it.
Of course, Cope. So happy to have you here with us for our special Saturday session.
Zach, did you have anything to ask? I noticed you unmuted your mic.
Oh, that was accident. My bad. No, just join just to listen in.
Fair enough.
And in case you wanted to know, that the Zeta stars, they are both yellow dwarf stars, like our own sun is. They're pretty much almost carbon copies of our own sun. Just two of them.
Are they flat?
You know it.
good lord. You guys and flat sun.
We will
Kill.
chip away at your will, Scoob, and you will become a flat sun theorist, like the rest of
No.
us. Yes, you
Yeah,
will.
we're meeting in Reno, so feel free to bring some snacks.
My girlfriend might, but I'm gonna dread every second of it.
I'm gonna decorate some cookies, make them look flat, just like the sun.
Gerg. I just have that to say. It's just Gerg.
And
No,
who's
Our
to say?
cakes have to be pancakes.
And who's to say the Earth isn't flat, but it is round?
The Earth is definitely round. That's for sure.
Yeah, just think of it like a ping pong paddle and a ping pong ball. That's what we're looking at right here.
All right, let me.
You know what, Scuba? I want to just propose this to everyone really quick, and if anybody wants to answer this, freely unmute yourself. Do you believe that we are going to get the evidence of a gray alien or a reptilian? What's more likely?
I think gray 100%. That's the only public image that they've even allowed of an alien in the consciousness. I mean, when you think of alien, majority of people, you go to Area 51, you see all the posters, the signs there. It's of a gray alien.
I mean, we have an emoji,
I mean, it's the only one that really makes sense. Unfortunate.
But I mean, it would be a cool, like, out of left field, would vindicate that airplane lady.
Oh, the reptilian.
Right. Apparently, they did find who she was. I can't remember her first name. I just remember her last name was Gomez. But she like deleted all of her social medias, and I've been hearing conflicting reports about like what eventually happened to her. But all the reports said something along the lines of, yeah, she just got off the plane, and some were saying that she went on a cruise, and that's why she was like offline and wasn't responding to anything. But yeah, that whole thing was definitely weird.
Scuba, what's crazy? I just realized that District 9 is Mantid Disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is freaky. I never made that connection.
Did you know District 9 was also going to be a Halo movie?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that one's a real fucked up thing.
It was going
Peter
to be a
Jackson.
what?
It was going to be a Peter Jackson Halo movie. So like the
How
video
far
game Halo. How
did
far?
they make it into development before they decide to not make it Halo?
Microsoft told them no, but he basically finished writing it.
Oh, okay. Would now be a good time to bring up room temperature superconductors?
No,
Has any of you heard about that?
We did that last time. We literally talked about that last week.
Or Paez has a patent. Well, no, she said superconductor, not fusion reactor.
Yeah, I said superconductors, not reactors. No.
Salvatore Paez actually has one room temperature, and the thing is, he couldn't get it past any journals or patents, so he had to name it high temperature superconductor.
I'm specifically bringing this up because of the leaked paper out of Korea. Have any of you guys heard of this?
No.
Okay, so that's why I'm like, I know that this is not the first time superconductors have been like put into mainstream thought, but or any kind of thought. But there was a paper that was leaked, and specifically it was leaked out of Korea, and it's like, I don't even know the full details off the top of my head. It's confusing to me, but pretty much this team of researchers has been working on it since like the late 90s, trying to figure out how to make room temperature superconductors. And this paper was leaked detailing how they did it, except for the fact that all of their graphs were booty meat. Like, none of them made any sense. Like, I don't know anything about the science behind superconductors or anything like that, but all the people who do were saying that their graphs make absolutely no sense, but they laid out their protocol on how to do it. And so researchers have been going crazy, like the ones that have the resources, to make the materials to make the superconductors, have been going crazy all over the world trying to replicate what they have done. And I have heard very, very mixed results about what has come out of it. Some are saying that a lab in China was able to replicate it so far, but of course that's a lab coming out of China, so I don't know how much you can fucking trust that. And there's just been there's just been researchers everywhere who've been saying, oh no, it's like some kind of magnet, no it's this, no it's that, like, and they're all coming up like just trying to replicate the superconductor. And it's kind of really entertaining to watch, because I follow this account on Twitter that is pretty much like a
You mean X?
superconductor update account. That's Twitter. Fuck off. Just like it's still the Sears Tower. But yeah, and so it's like it's really interesting to think, because like if it is true, if they are actually able to make room temperature superconductors, because they've always been theorized, I don't know if they've actually been created, but they were always required to be done at super cold temperatures, because I'm pretty sure like the process of superconductors involves you having to slow down electrons or something, and that can only be done at really low temperatures. But apparently this team in Korea, a team of 3 researchers, have potentially figured it out, and there has just been chaos going on, just like watching all of these conflicting reports. It's kind of entertaining. And just like as an aside to it, there was like somebody who posted a screenshot of like a supplier for the exact, like a laboratory supplier of the exact stuff that you would need to make a superconductor, and all of them are out of stock. So you can tell that like anywhere that has the resources to put it into this are trying their best to replicate this. So it'll be really interesting to see what comes out of it over the next few days to weeks. Some people were saying that we might be seeing some results of it on Monday. And because I think this paper leaked, maybe it was like Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. And this process takes a while. It's not like something you can just synthesize in a couple hours. So yeah, so it's definitely something to follow for sure. That's what I've been doing. And I've been trying to wrap my head around just understanding what the hell they're talking about.
No, that's super cool. Junk, what are we looking at here, bud?
Baby stars.
Baby stars.
You're looking at a nebula of freshly forming stars. These kids are now listening to death metal in their mom's basement. So they're maturing. It's really cool, actually. I love looking at baby stars because it just shows me like a roadmap of new future life to occur, because these are going to have planets, and there's going to be new like DLC planet like landscapes to incarnate on. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. But yeah, I mean, this is the newest from James Webb Space Telescope, an infrared satellite of which has caught some insane pictures. It is definitely one of my favorite things to look at.
No, hey, it's a really nice picture. So yeah, formation of the star, everybody. And we got ourselves our weekly sun look and all the space anomalies in the sky. Look at that. I wouldn't even know what to make of that. Looks like a coffee mug.
Yeah, these tend to be Xenox's favorites. He loves the ambiguous shapes that we find on the graphs. So Xenox, what do you make of this?
Gosh.
Even he's dumbfounded.
I don't know.
Scuba, I have a question. What kind of coffee mugs do you look at? Do you use?
Oh, okay, first of all, do you not see, like, this is the rim, this is the handle here? I said a coffee mug. I never said a good-looking coffee mug, all right? God.
I don't see it at all. I don't even see anything
Look,
remotely
this is the rim of the
pushing.
cup. This is the handle. This is the bottom of it. Like, come on. What do you mean you don't see it?
I'm trying. I'm not trying to like shit on you. I'm really trying to see it. I don't.
Well, what do you see?
I see two blobs. One longer and one rounder. If I'm being honest, that top one kind of looks like a gun. See that? Like a nice big shotgun.
Even I don't see a shotgun, so.
Okay, are we looking at the same image?
Yeah, we're in America. Yep. Well, in realistic, I mean, like those are probably two different craft. And then this one, obviously cigar shaped. It has a bit of a tail end to it, or maybe like a shorter, shallower point, which I found fascinating. But you're looking at an infrared capture of the LASCO C3 telescope.
And that is the end of those slides. Now we have some videos of our, God, as my girlfriend is now recently calling it, the great big pancake in the fucking sky. Ay, ay, ay. Y'all have corrupted her, I swear.
Well, she's not wrong, so.
God damn it. I do not get
How does it feel, Scoob, to have a girlfriend that's smarter than you?
Anyway, we're looking at a beautiful solar flare. I caught this in half speed, so you're seeing it not as fast as it is, but it is incredible.
Yeah, this happened yesterday, and it was a very interesting sight. However, completely missed us by a long shot. It's crazy. Went complete opposite direction of us. It was just like, oh, well, we probably would have died, so that's cool. And there's another one. I just want to make note, these are not at all anywhere, shape, or form the big one. They may seem big, but they are actually very small.
Yeah, I remember looking at an archive one from 2012, and that thing, if you can imagine, through its very interesting perspective, took out the entire camera view and more.
It was the summer of...
Yeah, exactly. Oof.
So yeah, our quote-unquote big pancake in the sky is active as all hail and keeping itself busy, that's for sure. Oh, what the hell? All right.
It's erupting syrup left and right.
Oh my God, I can't even... Well, I'm gonna end it off there before my head explodes. Thank you for coming to this very special Saturday session. I know it's a little weird and alien. I don't know if this is better for anybody's schedule. I thought about making a poll to see if it was better for anybody's schedule, but for now we'll stick with Wednesdays. While we're here, what do we want to talk about on Wednesday?
Flat sun theory.
Okay, fine. If we could come up with a proper argument for it and a debate for it, all right, we'll talk about it. Good God.
Yeah, get a good lawyer, Scoop, because this is gonna be a deep one.
Honestly, but like as like a corollary off of that, I feel like it would need a lot of pre-work before we would do it, but I feel like actually going in on flat Earth would be fun. It'd piss a lot of people off.
Hey, Scuba, do you want to show them my Star Bloom intro just to rub some dirt in?
Rub some.
I mean, I think it would actually be kind of juxtaposed with conversation because it would be what extraterrestrials see looking upon the planet.
Or,
The aerial view.
or-
I'll send you the link. Hold on one second. You don't have to have the video. You can like stop it right as it goes into the titles, but I think the intro sequence is also like a really good perspective.
Oh yeah. Is there sound?
Yes.
Firmament confirmed. So yeah.
Flat as a pancake right there, as you can see.
Yeah,
I just thought that'd be an interesting perspective because a lot of people think, like they're just like 20,000 feet in the air, but they're quite literally on the edge of the atmosphere. You can't really make out like subtle details. So it's fascinating just to kind of put yourself in that perspective and think like, what would it be like to occupy a craft and just observe from above? That's pretty much what you would see.
Just higher orbit. Yeah. Planet's pretty beautiful being up that high, that's for sure. But anyways, have a wonderful rest of your weekend, everybody. We will see you next week. Maybe talking about flat Earth. Probably going to have to reconvene on that and what details we want to go into. But other than that, we will see you next time. Have a lovely evening. And as always, keep on seeking. Bye, guys.
Okay.